am your host, Sipon Sport, your favorite Ank on the net. So we're back today. We're learning about the Italians. Italians. It's not only about their language, but it's also about their origins and everything that's to do. But what a better way to actually represent a people, but their language. That's too loud. Okay, what's good, everybody? Welcome to Nevertheless Commentaries. Today we are checking out the culture. Don't worry about the song in the background. The song we made another day with the most of y'all. You were there while we were making that song. So it's going to be underneath everything that we do today because it's our song. It's our song, we made it. So we're going to have a lot of fun today. We're looking at the Italians, Italiano, Italic. Everything Italians. We are doing 40 days, 40 languages. So we're starting with the Italians. Today, tomorrow, we might do your language. So you actually suggest your own language and your culture. We'll check it out. So we got 40 days for 40 cultures and 40 languages. Can you play Queen Show Must Go Now? What is Queen Show Must Go Now, Imran? What is Queen Show Must Go Now, Imran? So that's what we're actually basically doing today. So it's Italians. Now we start about their origins. So about the origins of the Italians. Without further ado, let's see what we get from the Italians. I mean, a show must go on a song by Queen. Show must go on a song by Queen. I would really like to play that song, Imran. But the problem will be some... I think I've got amnesia somehow because I forgot what I wanted to say. But there will be some copyright strike, so that's why I'm not playing anybody's music, but the music that we make here. So maybe you went here by the other day. We were making this sound here, and we said it's going to be the sound for the channel. So that's the problem. Copyright. I'm glad you actually get it. So you need to actually give me your language, and then we will check out, we will put actually your culture on the roster. So it will be some of the things that we're actually going to check out. That's your culture right there. Okay, let me turn this up a little bit and then turn it back down. Okay, back to the video. Okay, the Italian origins. Italian origin refers to the people or the culture and as ancestry of Italy, a rich blend of ancestral tribes or Italic tribes like Latins, Romans, Greeks, Etruscan Celts, and later Germanic, which is Goth and Lombards, and North African tribes like Arab, Berbers groups, creating a diverse genetic layers reflecting the modern Italians. So these Italians share a common language and history, but are genetically varied. So these are diverse people who actually are brought together by being Italians, but not that they are from the same origin. So it's a variety or a lot of group of culture, ancestry, and people who were actually brought together and form the Italians. So looking at that, it's a mixture of Europeans, Asians, and Africans. I think it's a uniting or it's a hub where actually most people were uniting to actually form the Italians. And you could see, if you look at them, you cannot really say they are white. You cannot really say they are Asians. You cannot really say they are African. I mean Arab by Africans. So they're in between all those actually people have named. If you look at the picture that I've put out there, probably I'm being stereotyped, but actually that's what comes to mind when I think about the Italian. So it makes sense if you see the likes of the Greeks, the Etruscan, the Celtics, the Goths and Lombards from Germany, and also from Africa you see the Arabs and also Berber groups. So these all nations created a diverse genetic layer to actually have the Italians that we have today. They share a common language and history, but genetically they are different. So they come from all over the world. By saying all over the world, it's Europe, it's Asia, and Africa. So they are a uniting hub of these three continents: Asia, Europe, and Africa on the bottom. Thank you for the like. Page 3, we are talking about, we are doing 40 languages, and in 40 days, 40 languages, 40 cultures in 40 days. Today is the day 1, and we are doing the Italians. Key ancestral groups, it's Italic people, Etruscans, Greeks, Celts from Germany, and other contributors are ancient farmers from the Near East, which are Phoenicians, later waves of Germanic tribes, Goth, Lombard, and also Arab Berbers from North Africa, impacting the southern Italy. Etruscan are an Indo-European people in Tuscany, influential before Roman dominance, contributing to the game of pool. And also Greeks established colonies in southern Italy, Malta and Croatia, significantly influencing the culture and genetics, especially in the south. So the Celts or the Gauls settled in the north of Italy, Cilaspin Gaul, living Celtic genetic traces, particularly in the north. So we see a two pool of groups. In the south, we have the Greeks, not only the Greeks, and also the Phoenicians, the Germanic tribes, the Goths and Lombards, and also the Arabs and Berbers from Africa. But in the north, we have the likes of the Celts or the Gauls, who were actually settled in the north of Italy, Cisalpine Gaul, leaving Celtic genetic traces, particularly in the north. So that's what we are actually getting. Genetic diversity. Hello, what's good? Riva. It's 40 languages, 40 cultures in 40 days. Today we are doing Italy. Tomorrow it might be your language. So you need to suggest your language. We will check your language, your culture, and also your origins. So that's what we are doing in these streams for the next 40 days. So genetic diversity, modern Italy are one of the Europe's most genetically diverse popularity, with the significant difference between north and the south. With the significant differences between the north and the south. Northern Italy's show some genetic links to the Central Europe like Celtics and German tribes, while southern Italians often share more ancestry with the Near Eastern and northern population due to historical interactions. So cultural and linguistic. Rajvia, I see you, Rajvia, I see you. Cultural and linguistic roots. Italian culture and history and language, or a Roman language, are rooted in the Latin spoken by Romans themselves, a mixed earlier people. The term Italian refers to a natives of the Italian peninsula with its identity shaped by these successive migrations and cultural fusion, not of a singular pure ancestry. So it's a diverse, or it's a pool of a lot of people through migration who actually met up in this region and form the Italians. So in the north, it's the Europeans ancestry, diverse European ancestry, but in the south, you find the Africans and a little bit of Asians in there. So that's how these Italians, or the Italians, are formed. Actually, we're birthed. Let me put it that way. Now, the etymological origin, the name Italy, Latin Italia, as we actually have said that Latins were the part of the major player in forming Italy. So the name Italy is Latin word for Italia. It's believed to have originated in the southern tip of the peninsula, modern day Calabria. Now we need to check out Calabria so that you may understand that, okay, it came from Calabria, the name Italy, which is a Latin word called Italia, land of calves. The most widely accepted theory is that it's derived from the Oscan word Viteliu, meaning land of a young cattle. Ancient Greeks who colonized the south dropped the initial V, a sound they lacked, resulting in Italia. So it was a V earlier, Vitaleu. Let me say word Vitaleu. Now when they came, they scrapped the V and say Italeu, which is late Italia, or Italy as we know it today. Mythological kings, some ancient sources attribute to the name to be a legendary named Italus, who supposedly unified the early tribes of the region. Now the genetics and the ethnic roots, or ethnic roots, modern Italians are genetic mosaic reflection, a long history of settlement. So pre-Indo-Europeans, indigenous group like the Etruscans centrally in Italy, or the Lucarians northwest in Italy, or the Nuragic people or the Sardina. Okay, something just came out of my screen here. I don't know what it's doing here. Get out of here. Get out of here. Leave. Okay, we were with the mythological and kings, which have said some ancient sources attribute to the name of the two Legion king named Italus, who supposedly unified the early tribes of the region. Now back to the genetics and ethnic roots. Modern Italians are a genetic mosaic reflection, a long history of settlement. So pre-Indo-Europeans, indigenous group like Etruscans, central Italy, Ligurians, northwest, and Nuragic peoples of Sardinia. Italy tribes Indo-European groups who migrated in waves, including the Latins, the founder of Rome, the Sabines, the Umbrians, and also the Samnite. So the external influences in Italy, as southern Italy was heavily shaped by the Greek colonization, Magna Graecia, and later Arab and Norman settlements. Northern Italy saw a significant input from Celtics, Gaulish, and Germanic tribes like the Lombards and the Goths. Now, the linguistic origin of the Italians, or Italy, Latin's foundation. The Italian language is a Romance language evolved from Vulgar Latin. Let me repeat that. The Italian language, as we know it today, is a Romance language evolved from a Vulgar Latin. So we saw that actually the Latins played a major role in actually giving birth to the Italians. So now it makes sense if they say actually the language itself, the Italian language, is a Romance evolved from the Vulgar language of the Latin. So standardized. The modern standard is based on the Tuscan or Florentine dialect, popularized in the 14th century writers such as Dante Alighieri, Petrarch, and also Boccaccio. I need to actually find their works, both these people, because they are known to be the people who actually popularized the language in the 14th century. So that's Dante Alighieri and Petrarch, also Boccaccio. I hope I'm pronouncing this correct. So historical unification. While Italy was geographical concept since Rome times, it only became a unified nation in 1861. During the Risorgimento, merging numerous independent kingdoms and city-states into a kingdom of Italy. Now that's very, very interesting. That's very, very interesting. Very, very interesting. So that's about the origins of the Italy and the Italian people. So we are happy now with everything that came about into the making of Italy. I think they have some of the most beautiful structures we have in the world. Now I'm going to check a little bit of their language and check what's going on, because what a better way to actually look at an ethnic group and their culture, but their language, because what they speak is what actually represents who they are. Americans will say who they is. I don't know what kind of English is that, Americans, but that's how some of the times you would want to speak. But I think the language is the best way to actually understand people, the best way people can represent themselves. So the greatest representative of the culture or of the people is the language. So we'll take a little bit look or dive into the Italian language, or Italiano. I'm gonna end up being an Italian myself. Are there any black Italians like myself? I don't know. But I asked the questions. Do you know Italians? 50% of you all said yes. 25% said no. And I don't know, 25% said not really. So by watching this stream, I hope by the end you will actually really know about the Italians. So Italian pronounced ita, ia, no, ita, ia, no, ita, ia, no. This is a lingua italiana pronounced, how it is pronounced. Lingua italiana. Italiana is a Romance language from the Indo-European language family. It evolved from the Vulgar Latin of the Roman Empire, and together with the Sardinians, is the least differentiated language from the Latin. Current estimates indicate that between 68 to 85 million people speak Italian, including approximately 64 million native speakers as of 2024. So that's like 1 year, 2 months ago. 2 months ago? 1 year. I don't know when the study was made. So it's 1 year, some months ago. So Italian is officially, or is an official language of Italy, San Marino, Switzerland, Ticino, and the Grisons, the Vatican City, and is officially a minority status in Croatia, Slovenia, Istria, Romania, Bosnia, and Herzegovina, and also 6 municipalities of Brazil. Oh, that's very interesting. So it's also spoken in the other European and non-European countries, most notably in Malta by 66% of the population, Albania 70% upwards, and Monaco, as well as by the large immigrant of the expatriate communities in the Americas, Australia, and other countries. Italian is a major language in Europe. Major language in Europe. I think it was the best choice to actually begin with the Italians. Don't forget to smash this up. We are doing 40 days, 40 languages, 40 cultures. So we began with the Italians. It's appeared to be the biggest language spoken in Europe. I'm not sure the Europeans can attest to that. So we will look at Africa on day 2. On day 3, we are going to North America. On day 4, South America. On day 5, Asia. On day 6, we are going to the islands. Then on day 7, we're back to Europe. Right now, we are doing the Italian. And so far, we've learned that it is a major language in Europe. That is Italy. So Italy is a major language in Europe, being one of the official languages of the Organization of Security and Cooperation in Europe, and one of the working languages of the Council of Europe. It is the third most widely spoken native language in European Union, 30% of European population, and it is spoken as a second language in the 13 million European citizens, 3%. Italian is the main working language of the Holy The Holy See is also called the See of Rome. This is the See of the SEE. So I was like, what the hell is Holy See? So they say Italian is the main working language of the Holy See. Apparently, the Holy See is also called the See of Rome, the Petrine See, or the Apostolic See. This is the central body of the Catholic Church and the Vatican City. It encompasses the office of the Pope as the Bishop of the Apostolic Episcopal See of Rome and serves as a spiritual. Let me actually finish this thought. Where is this? Okay, and serves as a spiritual administrative authority of the worldwide Catholic Church and Vatican City under international law, and the Holy See holds the status of the sovereign judicial entity. According to the Catholic historical records and tradition, the Holy See was founded in the 1st century by Saint Peter and Saint Paul by virtue of the doctrine of the Petrine and the papal primacy. It is the focal point of the full communion for Catholics around the world. The Holy See is headquartered in or operates from and exercises the exclusive dominion over Vatican City, an independent city-state enclaved in Rome, and of which the Pope is the head of the state. So the Holy See is the administrative Rome of the Roman Curia, which is the central institution of assisting Pope and other, and through which the affairs of the Catholic Church are being conducted. The Roman Curia concludes dicasteries comparable of the ministries of the executive department. The Cardinal Secretary of the State and is its chief administrator. Papal elections are carried out by the members of the College of Cardinals, although the Holy See is often metonymically referred as to the Vatican. The Vatican City-State was distinctively established with the Lateran Treaty of 1929, agreed as the Holy See and the Kingdom of Italy to ensure the temporal, diplomatic, and spiritual independence of the papacy, such as papal nuncios, who are papal diplomats to the state and the international organization, and recognized as the representative of the Holy See and not the Vatican City-State, as prescribed in the canon law of the Catholic Church. The Holy See is thus viewed as the central government of the Catholic Church and the Vatican City. The Catholic Church is the largest non-governmental provider of education and healthcare in the world. Now that's facts, because I've seen some of that here in South Africa. We have so many hospitals that were built by the Catholic Church, and also schools that were built by the Catholic Church. So from the top of my head, I can tell you about Saint Apollinaris, Christ the King. I forgot other names, but those are the hospitals that we came to, on top of my head. Saint Margaret, Saint, all the saints something, Saint so and so. Those are the Catholic contribution throughout the world. So when I say here, the Catholic Church is the largest non-government provider of education and healthcare in the world, they're correct because I've seen it here in South Africa, KwaZulu-Natal in my province, and in my city. Lo Vivo in Italy, your King Von, that's good, that's good, that's good. The Holy See, the Holy See maintains the bilateral diplomatic relations with 180 sovereign states, signs concordats and treaties, and performs multilateral diplomacy with the multiple intergovernmental organizations, including the United Nations and its agencies, the Council of Europe, European Communities, Organization of the Security and Cooperation in Europe, and the Organizations of American States. So the terminology see. The word see comes from the Latin word sedis, which means seat, which refers to the episcopal throne, cathedra, the term apostolic see, which is the throne of the apostolic, or the chair, or the seat of the apostolic, or the authority at which the apostles move or operate. Now, that's my addition to that. Now, let me continue. The term apostolic see can refer to any see founded by one of the 12 apostles, which, when used with the definite article, it is used in the Catholic Church to refer specifically to the see of the Bishop of Rome, whom that church considered the successor of St. Peter. While St. Peter's Basilica in Vatican City is perhaps the church most associated with the papacy, the actual cathedral of the Holy See is the Basilica of St. John Lateran in Rome. So the Roman Catholic Church only see, in the Roman Catholic Church, only the see of the Pope bears the right to be addressed symbolically as holy. Now that's the Roman Catholic Church in Rome. There was one exception to this rule, represented by the bishopric of Mainz during the Holy Roman Empire. The former Archbishopric of Mainz, which was also the electoral and primatial rank, had a privilege to bear this title of the Holy See of Mainz, or Latin Sancta Sedes Mogentina. So we can't go on with the history. We can go on with the history of the Catholic Church, but the focus is with the Italians. But I wanted to see what is the Holy See, because Italians is the main working language of the Holy See. So we know now that is to do with the Catholic Church, the Vatican City, and the organization as a whole, spreading out to the rest of the world. So that's what the Holy See is, serving as a lingua franca in the Roman Catholic hierarchy, and the official language of the sovereign military order in Malta. Italian's influence led to the development of the derivative languages and dialect worldwide. It's also widespread in various sectors and markets, with its loan words used in art, luxury goods, fashion, sports, cuisine. It has a significant use in musical terminology and opera, with the numerous Italian words referring to music that have become the various languages worldwide. So the Italians are very, very instrumental, and something just happened and pop up to my screen. I'm sorry for that. So something just happened. So Italian is considered a conservative Roman language in a phonology, lexicon, and morphology. Almost all the native Italian words, and with the vowels, and the language has 7 vowels sounds. E and O have mid-low and mid-highs. So that means if we say A, E, I, O, U, then they have a E and E, and O, and O, I'm assuming, but that's what it says here. With E and O have a mid and a high vowel. Italians have contrast between short and long consonant and gemination, doubling of consonants. Now, a little bit of history again. The Italian language is developed through a long and a slow process which began after the Western Roman Empire's fall and the onset of the Middle Ages in the 5th century. Now, if we're speaking about the 5th century, we're thinking about, since the Roman Catholic Church is also in the picture, that reminds me of the Messiah Christ himself. If we speak about the 5th century, because we know later on, around 30 to the 33rd century, he is getting slain or hung on the tree. So if they're saying the language was developed around that area, so I'm thinking about the languages like Latin, Koine Greek, there's other language that Christ spoke, but I forgot. Maybe I'll remember it. So let me continue. Latin, the predominant language of the Western Roman Empire, remained the established written language of the Europe during the Middle Ages. Although people were illiterate over centuries, the Vulgar Latin popular spoken in various areas of Europe, including Italian peninsula. Now, I need to know what is the Vulgar Latin. What's the difference between Latin and the Vulgar Latin? Innocentia, Poeti, what's good? Poeti, King Von, what's good? What's good? Everybody, welcome to Nevertheless Commentary. We started a series of 40 days, 40 languages, 40 cultures in 40 days. So today we are doing Italy. So if you didn't know anything about Italians, you must know them from today. Just start from the top and go all the way down and listen to what I've said about the Italians and the Italian and the Italiano. And also tomorrow we'll shift our focus to Africa, one of the languages in Africa. I think the most spoken language in Africa, that's what I will actually look at. And then we move to North America, South America, then Asia, then on the islands and back to Europe again, to Africa. So that's how we will circle around until the 40th day comes. So, or passes. Pause. Now, I need to find a difference between Vulgar Latin or Latin. Vulgar Latin, also known as the colloquial popular spoken or vernacular Latin. It is the range of non-formal registers of Latin spoken from the late Roman Republic onwards. Vulgar Latin is a term, as a term, is both controversial and also imprecise. Spoken Latin existed for a long time in many places. Now let's see what the scholar says about the Vulgar Latin. Kui, what's good? Kui, edit real, what's good? I remember you, bro. I remember you. What's good? What's happening? How is your weekend so far? Now, if you look at the Vulgar Latin in depth, scholars have differed in opinions as to the extent of the differences, whether the Vulgar Latin was in some sense a different language from the Classical Latin. What is Classical Latin? Classical Latin is a form of literal Latin recognized as a literary standard by writers of the late Roman Republic and early Roman Empire. It is developed around 75 BC from the Old Latin and developed by the 3rd century AD into the late Latin. So now I think we will catch a little bit of differences between the Vulgar Latin and also the Classic Latin. So the Classic Latin is of the sophisticated Latin people, the educated ones, and also have the Vulgar Latin, people like myself who were not educated at all, who were just speaking, the regular people like myself. So that's Vulgar Latin, and also there's a Classical Latin, but they both derived from the Old Latin, which was later developed into Italy as we know it, or Italian as we know it today. I wonder if they can read the scrolls of the Old Latin, maybe Vulgar Latin, or possibly Classical Latin today. I do not know. but it has developed into being the Italian languages, or Italiano, and that's how actually Italian was formed. I'm good. I'm also good. It's 40 days for 40 languages and 40 cultures. Today is Italian. We are focusing on them today. So if you know nothing about the Italian, from today you know about them. So now we have checked the difference between the classical Latin and also the Vulgar Latin. Now let's continue. Over centuries, the Vulgar Latin popularly spoken in various European or areas of Europe, including the Italian peninsula, evolving into the local variety or dialect unaffected by formal standards and teachings. These varieties are not in any sense dialect of the standard Italian, which itself started off as one of those local tongues, but sister languages of Italian. The Latin-speaking class referred to the collective Romance vernacular of Europe as Romans. Okay, we need to get this. All of us, we need to get this. So off the top, over century, the Vulgar Latin, popularly spoken in various areas in Europe, including Italian peninsula, evolved into local varieties or dialects unaffected by formal standards of teachings or teachings. These varieties or dialects are not in any sense dialect of standard Italians, which itself started off as one of these local tongues, but sister language to Italian. The Latin-speaking class referred to the collective Romance vernacular of Europe as Romans. Romans, or in Italy, Romanzo, or Volgari. Hence we have Romans, because of the language, of the dialect, of the varieties, of the sister languages of Latin. Then they said it's a Romance language from Vulgar Latin, and later we found people who are called Romans because of the language. Now, I didn't know that Romance came out of that being called the Romance language, because they were actually using Vulgar language in a way that they used it. I had no idea of that. Now I know. Now, the linguistic and historical demarcation between the late Vulgar Latin and also early Romance or Romance varieties in Italy are imprecise. The earliest surviving text that can actually definitely be called vernacular as distinct from its predecessors, which is Vulgar Latin, are legal formulae known as the Placiti Assassinesi from the province of Benevento. That date from 960 to 963 AD, although the Voronese riddle, probably from the 8th to the 9th century, contains the late of the Vulgar Latin that can be seen as a very early sample of the vernacular dialect of Italy. Now, the Comodilla catacomb inscription likewise probably dates to the 9th century and appears to reflect a language somewhere between the late Vulgar and Latin and early vernacular. The language came to be thought of as Italian, developed in central Tuscany and was first formalized in the 14th century through the works of the Tuscan and the writer Dante Alighieri, written in his native Florentines, a Dante epics poem known as the collective of the Commedia, to which another Tuscan poet, Giovanni Boccaccio, later affixed to the title Divina, were read throughout the Italian peninsula. His written vernacular became the touchstone for elaborating or canonical standard that all educated Italians could understand. The poetry of Petrarch, also widely admired, the influential and the development of the literary language, and will be identified as a model of the vernacular written by Pietro Bembo in the 16th century. Now let's check the poetry of Petrarch. Poetry of Petrarch. That is Francis Petrarch. Francis Petrarch, born in Francesco di Petrarch, was a scholar from Arezzo and a poet of the early Italian Renaissance, as well as one of the earliest humanists. Oh, that's incredible. One of the earliest humanists. So that poetry of Petrarch came from the fact that he was a poet and is regarded as one of the early humanists, I mean. Now, the poetry of Petrarch was also widely admired and influential in the development of the literary language, and will be identified as one or as a model of vernacular writing by Pietro Bembo in the 16th century. In addition to the widespread of exposure gained through the literature, Florentine also gained a prestige due to the political and cultural significance of Florentina at the time, and that it was linguistically a middle way between the northern and the southern Italian dialects. Italian was progressively made as an official language of the most Italian state, predating unification, slowly replacing Latin. Even when ruled by sovereign powers such as Spain, the Kingdom of Naples, or Austria, the Kingdom of Lombardy, Venetia. Although the masses kept speaking primarily their local vernaculars, Italian was also one of the many recognized languages in the Austro-Hungarian Empire. Italy has always had a distinctive dialect for each city because the cities until recently were thought of as city-states. The dialects now have considerable variety as Tuscan-derived Italians came to be used throughout Italy. Features of the local speech were naturally adopted, producing various versions of original Italian. The most characteristic differences of for instance, between the Roman Italian and the Milanese Italians are synthetic gemination of initial consonant in some contexts of the pronunciation of stress E or S between vowels in many words, e.g. fa bene. I don't even know if I'm pronouncing it right. Fa bene. Or ba bene. Fa bene. Or fa bene. Fa bene. Fa bene. Fa bene. Fa bene. By, okay, let me read this as is. The pronunciation stresses E and the S between vowels in many words, e.g. fa bene, or pronounced va bene by a Roman and by the standard Italian speaker, va bene. By a Milanese and by the speaker whose native dialect lies to the north of the La Spezia Rimini line in casa. A casa at home is ac casa. A casa, which means at home. They said ac casa. For a Roman is ac casa, or agaza for standard. Agaza for Milanese generally northern. I need to actually remember that. At home, agaza, at home. Welcome everybody. This is 40 days, 40 cultures, 40 languages, starting with the Italiano today. So we've been at it for 45 minutes. If you have known nothing about the Italians, today you know about them. So we are learning together. 17 votes, 53% says we know Italians, 29% said no, 18% said not really. So if you don't know Italians or you don't really sure, now you know. Start from the bottom all the way down, you get to hear what's about the Italians. So I'm paraphrasing most of the things, but you can actually do a deep dive into the Italian culture and the language. But I think the language is the best way to actually represent any culture, because the expression or how people express themselves is through language. So the tongue plays a major role in building a nation or a people, because they express themselves using their tongues, which is a language. So akaza, which is a home, differs from various origins. In the beginning, when the language was basically being put together, in contrast to the Gallo-Italic linguistic panorama of northern Italy, the Italo-Dalmatian or Neapolitan and its related dialects were largely unaffected by the Franco-Occitan influences introduced to Italy mainly by birds from France during the Middle Ages, but also after the Norman conquest of the southern of Italy. Sicily became the first Italian land to adopt the Occitan lyric mood and words in poetry. Even in the case of the northern Italic languages, however, scholars are careful not to overstate the effect of the outsiders on the natural indigenous development of the language. I don't know why they say that, because you can see that from the beginning that this is a group of different people who came together and formed the Italians. So we see people from Africa, from Asia, and from Europe, depending on which part of Italy you are from. Northern, it's European; Eastern, it's Asian; and on the south, it's African. So these actually three continents formed Italy as we know it today. Now, the economic might and relatively advanced development of the Tuscany at the time, late Middle Ages, gave its language weight, although Vatican genus remained in use in maritime trade alongside the Mediterranean. The increasing of the political and cultural relevance of Florence during the periods of the rise of the Medici Bank, humanism, and the Renaissance made its dialect a rather refined version of it, a standard in the arts. Now we will check Renaissance, modern era, contemporary times, classifications, geographic distributions, and education, influence, lingua franca, and that will be it. So we still have at least 45 minutes to actually learn about the Italians. Now we are with the Renaissance, or the Renaissance era. I think those who studied history in school are actually aware of the Renaissance era. Those who studied history in school, I think they are aware of this era. But those who did math and science, they probably aren't aware of the era. The Renaissance is a European period of the history, or of history and cultural movement, very roughly defined as the covering the 14th through 17th century, through sometimes more narrowly defined, for instance, as only covering 15th through 16th century. It marked the transition from the Middle Ages to the modern era. Now let me pause it there. Maybe for the sake of people who do not know what the Renaissance is, maybe let me do a little bit of deep dive to the Renaissance. Okay, up from the top, the Renaissance is a European period history and cultural movement, very roughly defined as the 14th to 17th century, through times more narrowly defined as instant from 15th to 16th century. It is marked as a transition, only covering as a transition from the Middle Ages to the modernity, and was characterized by the European rediscovery and revival of the literary, philosophical, and artistic achievement of classical antiquity. Associated with great social change in most fields and disciplines, including art, architecture, politics, literature, exploration, science, and science. The Renaissance was first centered in the Republic of Florence, then spread to the rest of Italy, and later through Europe, the term the Renascita or rebirth, which is Renaissance, first appeared in the lives of the artist in 1550. Giorgio Vasari is the person who actually came with the term, an artist who came with the term, while the correspondence French word Renaissance was adopted into English at the time of this period during 1830s. So the Renaissance intellectual basis was founded in its version of humanism, derived from the concept of Roman humanitas and the rediscovery of the classical Greek philosophy, such as the Protagoras, who said that man is the measure of all things. That's bold right there. Although the invention of the metal movable type sped to dissemination of ideas from later 15th century, the changes of the Renaissance were not uniform across Europe. The first traces appear in Italy as early as the 13th century, in particular with the writings of Dante and the paintings of Giotto. As a cultural movement, the Renaissance encompasses the innovative flowering of literary Latins and an explosion of vernacular literature, beginning from the 14th century, the resurgence of the learning based on classical sources, which contemporaries credited to Petrarch. The development of the linear perspective and the other techniques of rendering a more natural reality in painting and gradually but widespread educational reform. It saw a myriad artistic development and contribution from such a polymath and Leonardo da Vinci and Michelangelo, who inspired the term Renaissance man. In politics, the Renaissance contributed to the development of the customs and the conventions of diplomacy in the science and to increase reliance on observation of inductive reasoning. The period also saw revolutions in other intellectual and social scientific pursuit, as well as the introduction of the modern banking and the field of accounting. Now, there's more about the Renaissance, but it's begun by the artist in Italy and then spread to all over the world. Now, everybody speak about Renaissance, American Renaissance, African Renaissance, European Renaissance, Asian Renaissance. So there's world Renaissance. Maybe this is my Renaissance. But the word itself means the rebirth, Renaissance, the rebirth. So a new course of history, if I may put it that way. So don't forget to smash that up. This is 40 days, 40 cultures, 40 languages. Today we are doing Italy or Italiano or the Italian. Tomorrow we'll shift to Africa, move to North America, South America, Asia, to the islands, back to Europe, Africa. That's how we're going to roll. So smash that up and don't miss out. Should I actually choose your native language to speak about? So we've been on this for 53 minutes. So I'm very, very impressed with the things that I'm learning from the Italiano. However, it continues. The Renaissance era, also known as the Rinascimento in Italy, was seen as the time of rebirth, which is literally meaning both Renaissance from French and Rimanescento Italian. Among the manifestation or its many manifestations, the Renaissance saw a reinvigorated interest in both classical antiquity and vernacular literature. I think we really need that. I think we need a great interest in antiquity and also in literature. We need to put down the arms and engage in literature and stop seeing the likes of Trump doing what they do in Venezuela. We need to actually introduce the interest in literature. So the Renaissance, we really need that. We need a dialogue. We need intellects to actually go out there and represent our country. That's why I always say, I don't believe in wars, in arms. I believe in dialogue. I believe that conversations can actually bring unity, more unity. Not fear, but genuine respect. That's dialogue. So if we can actually bring back the interest in literature, I think we will make a huge stride in terms of actually shaping up the future for our children. That's my 2 cents to it. So, I'm sorry. My throat is dry. Hold it for a minute. Okay, back to it. Thank you. Thank you. We really need to actually reinvigorate the interest in literature and also maybe in antiquity. Though there's a lot of things that may be fake today, probably the collection is already with the rich people, but maybe in that sense they might win. But when it comes to literature, I believe everybody stands a chance to actually be somebody when it comes to literature, because it's the interest in knowledge, in the books, in wisdom and everything. So if we can actually shape the world towards that, going into the future, I think we will leave a better world for our children. So we really need to reinvigorate the interest in literature. No more going to war in the mass destruction weapons, but let's go to war with literature. Literature. Have a dialogue, the best of the best, to go out there and represent the country, and everybody need to watch that on national television. Wow, he can articulate himself. I never looked at that in that perspective. Wow, so and so is so good. We need actually that train your mind. So let's proceed. The advancement in technology played a crucial role in the diffusion of the Italian language. The printing press was invented in the 15th century and spread rapidly. By the year 1500, there were 56 printing processes in Italy, more than anywhere else in the world. The printing press enabled the production of literature and documents, the higher volumes and at the lower cost, further accelerating the spread of Italian. Now that's where they became so influential, especially in Europe and other parts of the world, including South America and also Africa. Now Italian became the language used in the courts of every state in the Italian peninsula. What is Italian peninsula? Now, the Italian peninsula is located within the Italian geographical region. It extends from southern Alps in the north of the central Mediterranean Sea, in the south, which comprises much of the country of Italy, and enclaved the microstate of San Marino and Vatican City, and the prestige variety used on the island of Corsica, but not in the neighboring Sardinia, which is on the contrary underwent Italicization well into later 18th century under the Soviet sway. The island linguistic composition, roofed by the prestige Spanish among the Sardinians, will therein make for a rather slow process in the assimilation of the Italian cultural sphere. The rediscovery of Dante, the Vulgare Eloquentia is the title of the Latin essay by Dante Alighieri. Although meant to consist of 4 books, it abruptly terminates in the middle of the second book. It was probably composed shortly after Dante's went to exile. We need to learn about Dante. I think Dante is very, very important to this Italian culture or Italian history. Maybe for bookmarks, one of the figures that we need to actually look at as far as these 40 languages, 40 cultures in 40 days is concerned, when it comes to Italy, Dante Alighieri is one of the figures that I need to look for and actually study what was this man, because he seems very, very important in this whole Italiano, Italic or Italian language, culture, and nation. Now, the discovery of Dante's De Vulgari Eloquentia and a renewed interest in linguistics in the 16th century sparked a debate that raged throughout the Italy concerning the criteria that should govern the establishment of the modern Italian literary and spoken language. The discussion known as Question della Lingua. Question, let me try and not Englishify this thing because it's not in English. Questionnaire della Lingua. Questionnaire della Lingua. Questionnaire della Lingua. I look fucking silly. So, what the hell I was doing? Questionnaire della Lingua. I don't even know how Italians speak, okay? Which actually, e.g., for example, the problem of the language, which is Questionnaire della Lingua, the problem of the language, ran through the Italian culture until the end of the 19th century, often linked to the political debate on achieving the united Italian state. Renaissance scholars divided into three main factions: the purists, headed by the Vatican Pietro Bembo, who is the Gli Assolani, claimed the language might be based only on the great Italian classics such as Petrarch and some of the part of Boccaccio. The purists thought the Divine Comedy was not dignified enough because it used elements of non-lyric registers of the language. Number two, it's Niccolo Machiavelli. And the other Florentine preferred the version spoken by ordinary people in their own times. I think me and Niccolo Machiavelli are probably share the same thoughts. Now, third, the courtiers, such as the Baldassare Castiglione and Gian Giorgio Trissino, insisted that each of the local vernacular contribute to the new standard. A fourth faction claimed that the best Italian was the one that the papal court adopted, which was the mixture of the Tuscan and Roman dialects. Eventually, Bembo's ideal prevailed. Pietro Bombe ideas prevailed, and the foundation of the Accademia della Crusca. In Florence, 1582 to 1583, the official legislative body of the Italian language, to the publication of the Agnolo Menossini's Latin tome, Floris Italicae Lingui Libri Novem. Damn, that sounds dope. Actually, I'm gradually being ingrained into this Italian language. Okay, let me start this again from the top. A fourth faction that claimed the best Italian was one that the papal court adopted, which was a mixture of the Tuscan and Roman dialects. Eventually, Bembo's idea prevailed, and the foundation of the Accademia della Crusca in Florence, 1582 to 1583. That's a year stretch. The official legislative body of the Italian language, led by the publication of Agnolo Menossini Latin Times or Latin Tome, Floris Italicae Lingui Libri Novem in 1604, followed by the first Italian dictionary in 1612. Modern era. An important event that helped the diffusion of the Italian was the conquest of the occupation of Italy by Napoleon himself, Napoleon Bonaparte. Napoleon Bonaparte, later known as his regular name, Napoleon, was the French general and statesman who rose to prominence during the French Revolution and led a series of military campaigns across Europe during the French Revolution and Napoleonic Wars. So an important event that helped the division of the Italian was the conquest of and the occupation of Italy by Napoleon Bonaparte in the early 19th century. The conquest propelled the unification of Italy. Some decades after and pushed the Italian language into the status of lingua franca, used not only among clerks, nobility, and functionaries in the Italian court, but also by the Poguoi. I think that's the way to pronounce Poguoi. Now, Poguoi redirect. Poguoi a class of business owners, merchants, and wealthy people in general, which emerged in the late Middle Ages, originally as a middle class between the peasantry and the aristocracy. They are traditionally contrasted with the proletariat by their wealth, political power, and education, as well as their access to and control of cultural, social, and financial capital. The Poguoi, or the Poguoi, in its original sense, intimately linked to the original ideology of liberalism and its existence in the cities recognized by such as their urban charters, municipal charters, town privileges, Germantown law. So there was no Poguoi apart from the citizenry of the cities. Rural peasants came under a different legal system. Now, excuse me with the harsh tone, peasantries in that time were part of the society and they were the lower class people. Now, contemporary times. The publication of the Italian literature first modern novel, I Promessi Sposi, The Betrothed by Alessandro Manzoni, both reflected the growing trends towards Italian as a national standard language. Manzoni, as a Milanesian, chose to write the book in the Florentine dialect, describing this choice in the preface to his 1840 edition as the rinsing his Milanese in the water of the Arno or Florentine River. The novel is commonly described as the most widely read work in the Italian language. It became the model for subsequent Italian literary fiction, helping to galvanize national linguistic unity around the Florentine dialect. The growth was initially a relative linguistic diversity continued during the unification of Italy in 1848 to 1871. The Italian's linguistic Tullio Di Moro estimated that only 2.5% of Italy's population could speak the Italian standardized language properly in 1861, while Arrigo Castellani estimated the same value as 10%. Now, Alessandro Manzoni is famous for the novel The Betrothed in 1827, ranked among the masterpieces of the world literature. He contributed to the nationwide use of the Italian language. Now, that's why I love languages, because languages define people. That's how people express themselves, through a language. Now, it is said that y'all don't know my language. I think I'll do my language last, which is isiZulu. Maybe that will help y'all understand me better, but that will be the 40th language that I'm going to do, which is isiZulu, because I can't do everybody else's language and forgot mine. I learn your languages, your cultures, but you also have to actually learn from me as well. The Italian is a Romance. That's the classification of the Italian. Is a Romance, a language, a descent of the Vulgar Latin, colloquial spoken Latin. Standard Italian is based on Tuscan, especially its Florentine dialect, and is therefore an Italo-Dalmatian language, a classification that includes most Central and Southern Italian languages and extinct Dalmatian, as in most Romance languages, stress a distinctive Italian. According to the ethnologue, lexical similarity is 89% with French, 87% with Catalans, 85% with Sardinians, 82% with Spanish, 82% with Portuguese, 78% with Latin, 77% with Romanian, estimates many different according to the sources. Now, a 1949 study by the linguistic Mario Pei concluded that our 7 Romance languages, Italian, stress, vowels, phonology, was the second closest to that of the classical Latin, after the locutores Sardinian. Locutores Sardinians. What was the locutores Sardinians? Locutores Sardinians is one of the 2 written standards of the Sardinian language, which is often considered one of the most, if not the most, conservative of all Romance languages. The orthography is based on the spoken dialect of central northern Sardinia. Let me hold it right there. Now, the study emphasized methods could be measured linguistic change, assigned frankly arbitrary point values of various types of change, and did not compare languages in the sample with respect to any characteristics or forms of divergence other than stressed vowels amongst the caveats. Now, a geographical distribution. Italian is the official language of Italy and San Marino, and is spoken fluently by the majority of the country's populations. Italian is the 3rd most spoken language in Switzerland, after German and French. It is official both on the national level and also on the regional level in 2 cantons, Ticino and Grisons. Ticino, which includes Lugano, the largest Italian-speaking city outside Italy, is the only canton where Italian is predominant. Italian is also used as in administration and official documents in Vatican City. What are cantons? The 26 cantons of Switzerland. Cantons are the member states of the Swiss confederations, the nucleus of the Swiss confederacy in the form of the first 3 confederate allies used to refer as to the Wade study, 2 important periods in which development of the old Swiss confederacy are summarized. Okay, I wanted to actually check that. So Italian is also spoken in the minority in Monaco, France, especially in the southeastern part of the country. Italian was the official language of Savoy and in Nice until 1860, where they were both annexed by France under the Treaty of Turin, a development that triggered Nicard exodus, or the emigration of a quarter of the Nicard Italians to Italy. The Nicard Vespers of Giuseppe Garibaldi explained about the referendum that allowed France to annex Savoy and Nice, and a group of his followers among the Italian Savoyards took refuge in Italy in the following years. Corsica passed from the Republic of Genoa to France in 1769. After the Treaty of Versailles, the Italian was the official language of Corsica until 1859. There's so much about Italy. There's so much about Italy, and I only have 15 minutes to go. And I've only covered history, classification, and now I'm on geographical distribution. I haven't reached the language and dialects. I haven't reached the phonology. I haven't reached the writing system, grammar, words, examples, Nobel Prizes, Italian languages, literature. There's more that I haven't covered, but it's been 1 hour, 15 minutes. That's how rich the culture and the language is. That's how rich the culture and the language is. But maybe let's just run to education. Italy is widely taught in many schools around the world. In the 21st century, technology also allows for the continuous spread of Italian language, as people have now or have new ways to learn how to speak, read, and write languages at their own pace and at any given time. For example, the free website and application of Duolingo has 4.94 million English speakers learning the Italian language. According to the Italian Ministry of Foreign Affairs, every year there are more than 200,000 foreign students who study Italian languages. They are distributed among the 9 institutions of Italian culture that are located around the world. In 179 Italian schools located abroad, or in 111 Italian lecture sections belonging to foreign schools where Italian is taught as a language of culture. As of 2022, Austrian had the highest number of students learning Italian in the world. This occurred because of the support by the Italian community in Australia, and the Italian government also because of a successful educational reform effort led by the local government in Australia. Influence and derivative or influence and derived languages. From the 19th century to the mid-20th century, millions of Italians settled in Argentina, Uruguay, South Brazil, Venezuela, in Canada, and the United States, where they formed a physical and cultural presence. In some cases, colonies were established where variants of regional languages of Italy were used, and some continued to use the original language. Examples in Rio de Janeiro, or Rio Grande do Sul, Brazil. That's Rio de Janeiro, but in Italian it's Rio Grande do Sul, where Italian is used, and the town of Chipiro near Puebla, Mexico. Each country is to use a derived form of Venetians dating back to 19th century. Other examples are Cocoliche, an Italian-Spanish Pidgin, one spoken in Argentina and especially Buenos Aires and Lunfardo. The Rio Platense Spanish dialect of Argentina and Uruguay today has thus been heavily influenced by both the standard Italian and also the Italian regional language as a result. Lingua franca. Eritrean, Kings G, what's good? Kings G 2358. Eritrean, hey, are you Somalian? Read the charts, bro. I'm sorry. I remember you, Jason Buro. Kings, bro. I think if you are, I'm not a Somalian, first of all. I'm a South African. Right now, I'm coming live from South Africa, KwaZulu-Natal. I speak isiZulu, so I'm doing a 40 days of 40 languages and 40 cultures. So today I'm dealing with the Italian, or the Italianos. Tomorrow I will actually come to Africa and actually learn about some of the languages in Africa, and then I'll move to North America, South America, Asia. Since you are here, you can tell me where you're from. Probably from your continent, I might actually consider your language. Thanks actually for remind me to read the chats. I'm sorry to the chat. I'm sorry. I've been going in, like locked in for at least 1 hour, 19 minutes now. So sorry everyone. Now you have all my attentions. If you have any questions, now let's ride through them. You're from Algeria. Arabic language. Actually, the Arabic language contributed a lot, or the Arabs contributed a lot in the making of the Italian or Italy and the language Italian. So if you are from Algeria, I think that's one of the languages that is most spoken in Africa, Arab. As I'm coming to Africa tomorrow, it could be either Arab or Swahili, between the two, Arab or Swahili, between the two. But at the end of the day, I'll do both those languages, Arab and Swahili, and also probably other two languages. But we will see. We will see. Thanks for tuning in from Algeria. Don't forget to smash that sub. This is Nevertheless Commentaries. We normally do sports analysis, sports reactions. As you can see, some of our videos, but I took upon myself to learn about people's cultures and languages and their backgrounds. Hence, I'm doing a challenge of 40 days, 40 languages and 40 cultures. Today is day 1. I'm doing the Italian. Tomorrow is day 2. We will see whether it's Arab or Swahili tomorrow, because we're in Africa tomorrow. Then we move to North America, South America, and then to Asia. After Asia, we will begin again. Same routines or same route. We actually need to do islands. We have Australia, we have New Zealand, we have Greenland, we have so many islands. So I think I'd pick a couple of, we have Filipinos. I think you have to pick a couple of islands to actually be included into this. I'm not sure yet which ones, but as we go, and most of you all come through, maybe you will suggest your languages. But today, the focus was with the Italianos or the Italians. So I think what I've learned so far has been very, very instrumental in actually shaping the history as we know it. That's what I've picked up so far. They have played a huge role in shaping history as we know it today. So thank you from Algeria. Since you speak Arab, I would actually check out in the near future the Arabic language. I'm hoping that will be part of that stream when we are doing Arabic language, to actually confer to the things that I was speaking about as far as your culture and your language is concerned. But I've seen that they've played a very, very huge role in actually the making of the Italians, because they are mentioned the southern part as Italy was actually constructed in Rome. What am I saying? Rome is in Italy. What am I saying? As Italy was being constructed, they play a major part, especially in the southern part of Italy, and also the Asians on the western part and the Europeans in the northern part. That's what I've learned so far as Italy is concerned. Now, I've read all the chats. If I missed your comment, I am sorry. I am sorry if I missed your comment. You have been talking for 1 hour, 23 minutes straight. 1 hour, 23 minutes. That's a lot of time. That's a lot of talking. Okay, where we are. Lingua franca. Or lingua franca. Actually, we're done. We are done with that. Italy came to enjoy increasing artistic prestige within Europe. A mark of the educated gentleman was to make the grand tour, visiting Italy to see its great historical monuments and works of art. It was expected that the visitor would learn at least some Italian understood as language based on Florentine. In England, while the classical language Latin and Greek were the first to be learned, Italian became the second most common modern language after French, a position it held until the 18th century, when it tended to be replaced by German. John Milton, for instance, wrote some of his early poems in Italian. Within the Catholic Church, Italian is known by a large part of the ecclesiastical hierarchy and is used in substitution for Latin in some of the official documents. Italian loanwords continues to be used in most languages in matters of art, music, especially classical music, including opera. In the design of the fashion industry, it's also used in sports such as football, and especially in culinary terms. Those who love cooking, they know that, they can attest to that. Now, when it comes to dialect of the language, In Italy, almost all other languages spoken as vernacular, other than the standard Italian and some languages spoken amongst immigrant communities, are often called Italian dialects, a label that can be very misleading if it is understood to mean dialect of Italian. The Romance dialects of Italy are local evolutionists spoken Latin that predates the establishment of Italian, and as such are sister languages to the Tuscan that was the historical source of the Italian. They can be quite different from Italian and from each other, with some belonging to a different linguistic branches from Romance. Now, that's another part of this, because when I speak about Romance or Romance, we speak about the Roman Empire, I presume, and I think Italy was in the heart of the Roman Empire, and I think till today they have a city called Rome in Italy. Probably we need to also check that. Now, let's look at the phonology. Nasal, Labial dental, Post alveolar palatal. I don't even know what is that. P, B, T, D. Actually, that's, I would be surprised if actually English had some relative or relations to Italy. I'm looking at the vowels, because if I'm looking at the labial, M or M, and P, B, F, V, I'm looking at that and I'm thinking of English, I'm thinking of isiZulu. Obviously, isiZulu has something to do with the English people who came to South Africa and settled. That's how actually these vowels were formed by, who are these two gentlemen? I forgot their names. So, and if you look at the dental or alveolar, it's N, T, D, Z, S, Z. Those are some of the things that actually I see that actually languages are not so different from one another as far as the vowels are concerned. How are you, brother? I'm Pakistani. What's good? What's good? What's good? Miami Salman. Miami Salman. How you? What's good? What's good? What's good? What's good? Salam alaikum. Salam alaikum. Did I say that correct? Okay, you are from Asia, and we're about to do Asia, and there's a lot of y'all from Bangladesh and Pakistani, so I'd have to choose which one to go for first, between a language from Pakistani or Bangladesh. Also India, the Hindis. So we'll see what's going to happen. Okay, I think so far we've covered a lot as far as the Italians' history and their language is concerned. And hey, there's a lot. Damn that nigga. Okay, there's a lot actually that's still there. It's phonology, it's writing, it's grammar, words, example text, Nobel Peace Prize. There's a lot that is not covered in this language, but I think the most important part, which is the history, the classification, the geographical distribution, and a little bit of language and dialect, we've covered that. I think that's very, very important. Now, maybe a little bit of formalities like greetings, like greetings. Maybe just to actually close the video, let's actually check that. Chia Chao. I thought that was Mandarin. No, it's Shesheni. That's Mandarin Shesheni. So the Italian vary by formality, with the most common informal hello being ciao or ciao, 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 while formal greeting use time-based phrases like buongiorno, buongiorno, which is good morning or good day, and buonasera, which is good evening. And the versatility, slave work works in most situations. For asking how someone is, use come stai. How are you? Come stai? Which is actually an informal is come sta. Come stai? Come sta. Informal is come stai. Formal is come sta. That's asking someone how are they. So some of the other things that we can actually pick up from the language, we've covered ciao, which is hi or bye. You usually use that mostly with your peers. And then we are at the informal greetings right now. It's ciao, it's either hi or bye, or a he, a healer, a here. Hey there. A he, hey, a here, hey there. Come va? How is it going? Come va? How is it going? I'm hoping my pronunciation is correct here, because I don't want to be slain by the Italians for mispronouncing their words. But come va means how is it going? So I'm hoping one of the Italians, if one of yours is an Italian, can actually confirm or attest to that. If it's come va, how is it going? Now, formal greetings on strangers or professional settings. Buongiorno. It's good morning, good day. It is used until afternoon. That is buongiorno. Buongiorno. Now, buonasera, good evening. Used from late afternoon and evening onwards. That is buonasera. Buonasera. Good evening. Buonasera. Salve. Hello, hi. A polite or a neutral choice when unsure. Instead of saying ciao or ciao, rather say salve. Salve. You will be safe. Salve. You'll be safe. Whether it's whoever you meet and they're Italian, if you say salve, you're going to be safe rather than say ciao, because they might be not your friends. And they might take offense to that because they don't even know you. Maybe salve is the best way to actually greet. Come sta? How are you? Come sta? How are you? That is formal. Come sta? How are you? Or come stai? Informal. Come stai? Informal. Come sta? How are you? But come va? How is it going? You see the difference? The difference between how are you and how is it going? Informally, you'd say come stai? How are you? Or come sta? How are you? Formal. Or come va, which is how is it going? How is it going? So it's different from saying how are you? How is it going? Come va. Now, those are informal things, but when it comes to formal greetings, it's come sta? How are you? Formal version. Come sta? Come va. Come sta? Come va. A person is not sure of their status, come sta is the best way to go. Come va, your friends in the streets, they will accept that. Pronto, hello, pronto, pronto, pronto. Specific situations, pronto. Use only when answering the phone. Oh, that's dope. What are you watching? I'm not watching nothing, bro. I'm actually indulging myself into the Italiano language, culture, and history. So every time now I pick up the phone, I'm like, pronto, pronto, pronto. That would be dope. I need to write it down so that I don't forget it. Pronto. Every time I answer the phone, pronto. Where's my pen? How to answer the phone in Italian? Pronto, pronto, pronto. Answer the phone. Pronto. That's Italian. That's how I'm answering the phone from today. So, piacere, nice to meet you. Piacere, pronto, piacere, nice to meet you. Pronto. Okay, I need to know how to say my name is. Piacere, nice to meet you. Benvenuto, benvenuto, benvenuta, benvenuto, benvenuta, benvenuto. Welcome. Welcome, benvenuto, benvenuta. Welcome. Now leaving. Goodbye. Arrivederci. Arrivederci. Or arrivederci. Goodbye. Arrivederci. Goodbye. See you soon. A presto. See you soon. A presto. So if you want to say nice to meet you, see you soon. You say piacere, a presto. I sound like Italian now. Piacere, a presto, buona giornata. Piacere, a presto, buona giornata. Nice to meet you. See you soon. Have a good day. Is today your day off? Yes, it is. I'm day off. I'm learning in Italian. This is 40 days, 40 cultures, 40 languages. So it's the first day, it's Italian. Okay, I was saying if you want to say nice to meet you. Nice to meet you. See you soon. Nice to meet you. See you soon. And have a good day. You'd say piacere, a presto, buona giornata. That's how you say it. So now that I know that, because every time now I answer the phone, I'm not playing, bro. Pronto, 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 pronto. That's how it is. Okay, now that's where we end with the Italians and the language, the history, and the culture. We will check again tomorrow a language from Africa. It's a language, the history, the culture, the background, the setup, and everything. It could be just because Arabic was closely related to Italian. Let's skip Arab and do Swahili tomorrow, and then we go to North America and we'll see which language we learn there, and South America, and in Asia we're going for Pakistan or Bangladesh or India. Pakistan, Bangladesh, or India. If there's a language that is spoken on those three countries, I think that will actually save me a lot of work, because had I choose Arabic tomorrow, it was going to save a lot of work, because so many Arab countries speak Arabic. I think all of them. So that would mean I have covered the South and Western Asia, the Eastern Europe, and the Northern Africa. So that means I'll cover tomorrow we are doing Arabic. Stop playing. Tomorrow is Arabic. On Monday, a language from North America. Tuesday, a language from South America. Wednesday, we'll see in Asia. Thank you, everyone. This is Nevertheless Commentaries. My name is Sipho Ndlovu, Sipho on Spot, your favorite anchor on the net. This is 40 days, 40 languages, and 40 cultures. So today was day one. Italiano. So from me, your favorite host of the most, CC fan page, what's good. Your favorite host of the most, I would say, piacere, arrivederci, a presto, Pona Chio Gionata. Did you get that? I'm saying to you, Piacero, arrivederci, a presto, buona giornata, which means goodbye, see you soon, and have a good day. Don't forget to smash that sub, check out our content. We love you. If you don't know nothing about Italian, check out this video from the top to the bottom. I would like to hear your comments on it. I love you. See you tomorrow when we do the Arab language and culture, tradition, the background, and everything. My name is Sipon of Sipon Sport. This is the various commentaries. I am a host of the most. Sipon Sport, your favorite. Ank on the net from me, I'm saying, arrivederci, a presto, piona, giornata. Yo, this was a